Hello and welcome to Movie Time Machine, your retro movie review and pop culture podcast. We're talking about movies from the past, we live in the present. Talk about what we're reviewing today. I'm your Time Machine host, Chad, and joining me this week, as always, he's our living encyclopedia of movie knowledge and NES cart collector. It's James.
There was a chapter on Deliverance in Quentin Tarantino's book review that I read, so I was excited to finally watch it or revisit it again. So, cool. Hi.
Excellent. And Mr. Fish Rap Factory himself, he's the host of the Midwest Mountain Sports Report podcast and author of the Midwest Mountain Sports Report. What do you call it? Blog? Sports blog? Is that what you call it these days?
That's fair. That's what we call it. Sports blog.
Jamie.
Hey,
Mr. Sports Blogger himself.
That's me. I'm trying to figure out what I need on Amazon because I need Prime to watch the Vikings tonight. So if you got any ideas,
really?
Let me know.
Is it exclusively on Prime?
I
usually like the local networks air it. Yeah.
Okay, I hope you're right because that would be. I mean, someone always needs something, right? But if I don't have to do that, I'd love to watch it on Fox. So.
Oh, yeah, that stinks. Did not think about that. I think we got a chance tonight, by the way. All right. So before we get into our topic of the week, which is the movie Deliverance, let's go around the horn and talk about what we've been up to and watching since our last time we potted. What about you, James?
Well, I finished Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, so
sweet.
That was fun. The only thing that I hadn't done yet is I meant to then watch Blade Runner OG to see, because after reading it now I'm like questioning. I'm like, okay, so I feel like there was 3 primary androids that Han Solo was looking after, and then in the book, there's, I think it was 6 that actually came back, and there's just different situations going on. So I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I just would like to revisit the movie to see where the similarities are, because from what I remember from the movie, there is quite a bit of difference going on. But that goes to all books to adaptations. So yeah, that I got that going on, and then I just finished before we started recording season 2 of Rebels. So, that was a pretty epic. So are you guys caught up on Rebels or had seen it at least one time through?
Yeah. Which, so what's that involve? Is that,
So season 2, basically it's a 2-parter finale, and here are the characters involved: Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Ahsoka Tano, and the 2 new Jedi that were.
Is this the Siege of Mandalore?
This is not. This is they invade a Sith temple, and are basically getting all power is essentially what happens. They find I don't know, I can't remember what they call it, the Horcrux, and Maul's after it because he wants to destroy all of his enemies. He doesn't care who they are, Sith, Jedi, and then Vader shows up and Ahsoka faces off with Vader, and that's how we end it. Is we don't Vader is basically looks like he's on a walker when he's leaving to get onto his TIE fighter. Where I had to double take, I'm like, is he on a walker? How is he walking? But I think the assumption is clearly Ahsoka is alive, but really effed him up, which was really kind of epic.
Is that the one where she does that to save Ezra?
Yeah, initially, Ezra goes back to essentially help her, and then she force pushes him back onto the ship. And who's Ezra's guy? I forget his name already.
Kanan?
But yeah, he's he just got blinded by Darth Maul's lightsaber. There's just so much going on in this. And Jamie, if you haven't watched any of this, sorry for a lot of spoilers here, but I bet you're kind of intrigued now.
I have a hard time with Darth Maul. That dude got sliced in half. I know he's got the spider legs and yada yada yada, but we'll see.
This is where I gotta finally say I'm gonna call bullshit on all haters on Star Wars stories. Okay, you gotta look at this stuff. We talked about this a little bit, I think, Jamie, when we cut off our last pod, or James, is that we really are starting to like Star Wars, the more that it leans into this like fantasy realm part of it. And then it's like once you go into that, it's just like, fuck it. Like everything's
Anything can
like
happen.
anything can happen, right? And it doesn't matter because all this shit that happens around the silliness is like what makes it so great and exciting. It doesn't matter that Maul already got sliced in half. It still makes this other stuff that happened like feel epic and really cool.
Yeah, you do have these like, because there's definitely way more of these "oh no way" kind of moments, and like where it's exciting. Like I don't have to buy into it. Like let's be honest. Like it's, are we going to talk about realism with all this stuff? Like no, it's just
right.
for
Like
make
Force
believe, and
Ghost
it's
and
fun.
like laser swords and time warps.
But Chad, to your
Warp
point, like
speed.
you're not wrong when Star Wars leans into the fantasy part of it. Like I think watching the OG, episodes 4, 5, 6, growing up, and then you get the prequels, and you start questioning a lot of things. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, how come we haven't seen Qui-Gon? Like, why can't he be a Force ghost? Like, what's going on? And like, we don't learn about a bunch of things because we only have limited knowledge of what the Force can do or what our mythology into Star Wars is. And now, as we have, created such a stronger, bigger universe, older even with Old Republic, New Republic, what have you, we just have all of these sweet stories where at this point you can go anywhere with it, and as long as it's a good solid story, like you're good with it. Like you don't have to fully understand what's going on. I don't need to know how space whales work, and why like
Yeah.
how they can live.
Right. Right.
It's not something I need to know. But with the Darth Maul thing, I mean, if I left Darth Maul, like obviously he's got a short bit in episode 1, but he's such a cool looking character, and fights really cool, and it's just something. It was so different than what we had ever seen in this universe, and then they ended it, and I think a lot of people were upset with that, and so they just said, "F it, let's bring him back." And so the fact, like his story arc between Clone Wars and then now him showing up in Rebels, like I am all in on Maul, and I'm just so intrigued on like I would love a Maul story, but it would have to be a TV show. There's no way a movie would do justice because there's so much going on, and it spans decades of him getting
Yeah.
betrayed by like him being an apprentice and excited about what's going on with that, and then being betrayed, and like I don't know, and then you're like just saying, you know what, screw it, like I don't need to be a Sith or Jedi. I'm just like, I'm gonna be a Force wielder, and I'm gonna destroy you all. Like I'm done with this. Like it's just he just has an interesting arc. He's almost as intriguing to me as Ahsoka herself. Ahsoka is another one that, again, I'm only 2 episodes in, I think, in the show itself, but not knowing anything about her, but watching her in Clone Wars and now in Rebels, like she is delightful, adorable, and just super like a strong. Like she's just really really cool. So I think even like a prequel to Ahsoka would be, or even prequel movies just based on her, would definitely do very very well if done right.
Cool. Yeah, we can go on about the Star Wars stuff. Your rewatch of the Clone Wars, or watching the Clone Wars, and your watching of Rebels will be well rewarded when you dive into the rest of Ahsoka. All right, Jamie, on to you. What you've been watching? I still love you, brother, even though we clash
Oh,
on the Star Wars stuff. But what have you
it's
been
all
up
good.
to since last time
Yeah,
we
Jimmy, you're
potted?
wrong. You're just wrong. Hi,
Yeah,
what are you
you're
watching?
wrong. You're wrong,
Believe
man.
it or not, I do love Star Wars. I really,
I'll buy
really
that
do.
for $1.
Yeah. I do think though the way you guys lay it out, it is more helpful to think of it kind of like Marvel. Like we have so many versions of Spider-Man because that character's been around for so long. So I think if I shift my thinking that like it's not this one big continuous story necessarily. There does leave more room for different stories with different characters and how we can take it in different ways. So maybe I just need to shift my thinking. But anyway, I have been, speaking of big franchises, I've been jumping back into Watchmen. It was I've read the graphic novel twice, and I started the show. It was really good. I think I had to give up HBO though, so I never finished it. But I'd never seen the Snyder film, and I always wanted to. I just missed it. Came out when I was in high school. Just completely missed it. So I started there. I really liked it. I mean, I know that movie probably caught some shit from like the comic purists, but it did its own thing. And as far as like, this is what this comic book would look like in real life, I thought he did a really good job of that. Never mind if I have some disagreements with the story. I thought what he did was really cool, and I'm pumped to jump back into the series. I watched episode 1 last week, and I think I'm going to take them like one a week.
Excellent. Yeah, I share your same feelings about that Watchmen movie as well. Like, actually going into that movie, I really didn't have a lot of knowledge about that novel, and watching it, I thought it was a great entertainment movie to watch, even from that era, or even compare it to today. Like, it's probably not the best movie overall, but I had fun watching it. I think I just saw it again a couple years ago, not too long ago. So I still thought it was good. It's a good watch. What else did you talk? Oh, the series though, man. Oh, savor that. It's a chef's kiss, my friend. That Watchmen series. So it's so
I
good.
can't wait, because I know they have. I've seen Silk Spectre come back, and you get Ozymandias in the first episode. So I'm super curious to see how they weave them into the new world that they've created. So yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it's it's really good. I loved it. All right. Shall we hop into our topic of the week? The week's movie is Deliverance, and I had never seen this movie before. I don't know, Jamie, have you seen this movie before? For doing this for the pod?
One time, like 5-ish years ago, I want to say.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I knew
Jamie?
The highlights well enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it once, like around high school, and then once again, probably like 8 years ago. So I've seen it twice. This would be my third time.
All right. Well, this is my first time going into this. So like, this movie is kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like a mythical creature to me, you know, like there's so much out there in like pop culture and just like pop culture references to this, especially like just like the banjos, the dueling banjos, you know, and just like what that means. I honestly, I had no idea really what it was going to be about until like I dove in and started watching it. So that it kind of wasn't what I thought it was about. But like kind of given the era, I was like, okay, all right, this is all starting to make sense. And like, I was like, this seems like a novel they would make us read in like middle school back in the day. Maybe they did, I don't know. But yeah, since you guys have seen this before, let me just kick it over to Jamie to start off this conversation. Just Deliverance. What like is your relationship to this movie, and just your thoughts and feelings about it?
So, last time I mentioned I'm super into those horror lists, like scariest movie moments. I think Bravo had one a few years ago, and this was on the list. The scene, right? Like that's the one that everyone knows when you say the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of had this like aura of shock value going into it, but that's not what I love about this movie. I love that it's these 4 guys trying to, it's that capture the wilderness before it's gone type of spirit, and it's 4 guys who are completely out of their element. Like they're not prepared. They just give their cars to these guys hoping that they're there at the end of the river. They're cocky, they're arrogant, and they get in way over their heads, and it becomes a movie of how are you going to get yourself out. And I like this because it makes you think, what would I do in this situation? Would I have done this? Could I do that? And ultimately, can you live with the consequences of the choices that you make? So that's what I dig about this movie, and the actors are great. I mean, man, I freaking love Burt Reynolds. Like, what just an all-American dude, and he's always great. Jon Voight can be hit or miss. I think he's pretty good in this, and I mean, everyone does great. Poor Ned Beatty, like just. I don't know how you come back from this role in your career, man. Like,
you just end up becoming like that guy in movies, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say he was like Lex Luthor's like henchman or whatever, like in the
Yeah,
original Superman. That's all I could see him as, because that's the only thing I knew him
that was my
from,
first
really.
thought too. Yeah, I mean, I think he was like in like he was just like in those movies. He was just like that guy in movies. Like was like the sidekick or kind of doofy. I don't know. I have to look up quick what other stuff he was in, but I feel like he was in like the era. This is like the 9 to 5 movie era. You know, Cannonball Run. Um, yeah, it's cool. James, what are your thoughts and feelings?
Well, I like that you said that it almost seemed like it was a book we should have read in high school. I don't think we did, or I know we didn't read this, but I had the same feeling. I mean, it is based on a book that they were going after, and in Tarantino's book, or critiquing the movie and the book, Tarantino did read the book, and he said like it stayed pretty close to the source material, almost like word for word. It sounded like, which is kind of cool. It also just felt like all the main actors, so Voight and Reynolds, Beatty, Ronnie Cox, like it seemed like them. It seemed like they were all like friends, or not even friends, but like it seemed like they just worked really well together. Like I think the casting, not just the actors individually, but as a group, like I bought that they all had their individual roles. I'm sure like Ned Beatty really hated Burt Reynolds, because I bet Burt Reynolds really just like messed with him the whole shoot, and stayed in character too. I'm sure like they never talked after the movie, is kind of my feeling after it. Um, and then like Burt Reynolds, I agree, like with just a just a badass like in it, or at least trying to seem like he's one. So it's kind of I feel like I was on edge on the whole time, going like, okay, I don't really remember how like his character ended, from the first time I saw it. Where like is he the hero in this, or like is he really just just has big talk until something bad happens, and then you don't know what to do. So, but no, I mean, until he gets injured, he's pretty much a badass the whole way through. It made me almost want to look on Amazon for a like zip up scuba vest of some sort, because I thought like maybe I would look cooler that way next time I am in the wilderness. John Voight, I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen him in like a younger role. I think like whenever see John Voight, I think of what's his name, Varsity Blues, the coach, whatever his name was, in there. And so I always feel like John Voight has always just been like this like older dad type character. So I don't know if I'd ever seen him with color in his hair before on this movie. So it was actually kind of cool seeing like all these guys at this young age doing their thing. And then the rape scene, because we can't avoid talking about it. So the one thing, like, this is what it made me think of a little bit. The hillbilly that was kind of like tormenting Ned Beatty's character, or all of them. It almost reminded me of, bear with me, A Christmas Story. The kid
Okay.
that laughed with the raccoon hat on, or the Daniel Boone hat, or not Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett hat, whatever you call it. But like just like the tormenting and the bullying, and like just this like child, like immature child, like just picking on those characters, and then to the point of like that. It's like, I hate to say, but it was like really a casual rape scene, because it just all of a sudden you're in such disbelief that you're like, that's not really happening, is it? It's wow. I don't even know what to do with that. And then you're just so like, it's one of those things that unfortunately, like when we talk about this movie, and or you hadn't seen it in your first timer, like this is now a core memory for you, and that's very, very unfortunate for everybody. But they attack it like it's just like this guy is like this immature bully, and like nobody knows how to handle the situation. Um, but all in all, I really like the movie. My We've talked about it earlier in like some threads, but my criticism is like there definitely is no score driving it, but I get the idea of just having the nature factor. So whether it's the trees, the water, the sounds of animals in the background, it definitely made you feel a little bit more isolated and alone. So I'm guessing between budget costs and maybe that idea, like that's kind of what they were going for. So I think it worked. I feel like this is probably a movie that still holds up in that aspect, because it's just so unique to anything that we've seen lately, I feel like.
Yeah, I get it. Like the score, that really kind of bothered me too, and I feel like that's a part of movies. I don't know what it is. Just in my mind, it's like a '70s movie probably going to have a terrible score, and you don't see this a lot with like movies before this era. Like it just feel like this is always like a pinpoint to me. It's like the '70s. I don't know what it was, so I just went and I just did some quick internet research just to see if like I could just find something that like a story or something that would obviously pop up. It's like, oh, it's because of this. Well, it sounded like it actually was part of like like late '60s into the '70s is like directors trying to like kind of break away from like the big like studios that kind of ruled the day before this. So if you think about like those big blockbuster movies that you think of like the '50s and '60s, maybe '40s, '50s, and '60s. James, you might know a lot about this. You're like a movie
Well, I was just gonna say,
history
like, when
guy.
you think
Like,
of like these big budget pictures, like you got like Ben Hur and the Ten Commandments, and like you have all the Alfred Hitchcock sets, and
yes,
yeah,
yep,
like they were just these big studio films where, like, even if you think of like Wizard of Oz, like they were just these huge studio pictures on these huge sets that they just, they were able to put all this money into it. And
right,
to your point, Chad, like the way I think about it with the '70s is I think that they were finally able to rent potentially their own equipment, like that we were capable of receiving like cameras and sound equipment and doing this and kind of trying to make your own independent film, where I bet a lot of the writers slash directors like were able to have a lot more say and what they could do. Like, so you take a director like John Borman, who people really liked, they're like, okay, well, let's go for it. And I think that's why people went and saw the film. So yeah.
right. And part of it too, I like and I think maybe the size of the equipment equal kind of like the cost of the equipment too. So maybe like you're using smaller cameras, not cost only, but even like quality too. So like maybe you just didn't have high of quality or like of recording equipment, sound equipment, or when you're doing uh like sound overs, voiceovers like in the studio and stuff like that. And like
For
the
sure.
editing process. It's kind of like from just what I glanced over really quick, that it's almost like it was like a kind of like independent kind of film revolution. And we do get a lot of like revolutionary films out of this era. It's just when it comes down to like the score and like the sound quality of them, is kind of becomes like an identifier of this era as well. And from kind of what I picked up on just reading was that was part of it, right? Was the equipment quality, but the ease of use and the ability to have more freedom with the types of film that you're making. So um I think like in that time of of having like the nature and the sound effects, like I really get that. But I'm just like so spoiled now to today. I think of movies like so like The Revenant with
Yeah.
DiCaprio or whatever. Like, I don't know. Some people, I feel like they say that movie bored the hell out of them, but for me, like the like openness of the wilderness and then the score on top of it and like the darkness of some parts of it and like the scenes, I was like, wow, maybe I'm just like so spoiled now of a movie like that compared to this.
Yeah, and I think like in like to your point with the Revenant, like I agree. Like I feel like that's what this was missing, was just like maybe it's just kind of like ominous or bass tones, or like I feel like the score drives so much emotion where I would have felt more alone based on what that story was trying to tell me with the score. I mean, like in the Revenant, like I think the cinematography, like the beauty of that whole movie, and then like the hauntingness of the score, like definitely just it kept me in it the whole time too.
Yeah.
And I also try to wonder if in this era, like, was this like the same like time as like what, an oil embargo, or was that in the '80s or something like that? I'm just trying to think if like we were in like another recession, or what things weren't going well.
Yeah, I feel like that started like mid '70s, which
Because
kind of like proliferated or escalated like inflation and stuff was already rampant, and yeah.
Right. And I think that like so between some of that plus like if the director was trying to like, hey, I'm gonna do this myself, if that is in fact what was going on. I
Yeah.
mean, you could tell like from reading some of the notes on the movie that they were just trying to save money and cut costs in any way they could. So whether that was the score or they had minimal or no stunt people, like it sounds like a lot of the it sounds like the actors were doing a lot of their stunts and getting injured. Burt Reynolds broke his coccyx on going down the rapids, and they filmed it like a few times with a dummy, and they didn't like the way it looked. And so Burt Reynolds just went down the rapids himself and he broke his tailbone. And when he asked, hey, how'd it look? I guess John Borman replied, it looked like a dummy falling over a waterfall. like, and so it's just interesting. But like to your point of like the equipment, and like I'm sure this was lighter equipment than ever used before, but in my head, it's still 1970, whatever it is, 75, 72? Can't remember.
72.
And like so it's still got to be really heavy stuff, so it's actually impressive seeing some of the rapid scenes, and because they're constantly moving, and like and they're in the wilderness, and no doubt they shot on site, and so it's just interesting, and like how cool like the shots that they got were, and I'm not sure what the shooting time was on it, but it looked like they got everything they needed with the cameras that they had, so I don't know, good for them.
Yeah, to add on to what you guys are saying, I have no doubt that what you're saying is true about the music in this period just not quite amplifying the movies the way it does now. I do know it was just like a throwaway line in this Wikipedia thing that it said that the studio did try to kill this movie. So I'm sure that probably played a part as well. Like whatever support they may have otherwise had, they didn't, because I'm guessing the studio probably took issue with the scene and didn't really give it the money that another film would have maybe gotten as well. But Chad, I'm curious too. So with that in mind, I mean, the music wasn't as strong. Did you still like the movie, or like what did you think about it?
No, I loved it. There is what I did love about it is like kind of like you said, Jamie, is right. These four men going in, they're in over their heads. They really don't know where they're at. They are so arrogant. Again, just kind of leaving their vehicles, expecting them to be there when they get back. The people that are like helping them, right? They're just being like assholes to them. And I guess I just think about even today, even if I'm going to like anywhere in like rural Minnesota, that's a smaller town, like I am not acting like that, even like rural Minnesota, let alone in Appalachia. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, 100%.
and that's today, let alone like what 50 something years ago, right?
Yeah.
At the time of this movie is filmed. Well, I kind of lost my thought there for a second. Appalachia. Yeah, so like just kind of going out there. Then it seems like they're not very well prepared, Like some of them are, some not. Some have tents. Some are complaining about like the bugs. It's like, what are you thinking? Were you not prepared for this?
Yeah.
So I think about that, and I kind of think about myself too, as like going to this stuff. Like when I was younger, I was more into like I would just go camping anywhere, anytime. And this is kids kind of influence this now too. But like if I'm going camping, like I'm bringing everything that I need, because like like what if I run out of gas? Make sure I have water. Make sure I have like food that can sustain me for like a couple days. I don't want to become dehydrated. I don't want to end up in like wet clothes. I want to make sure I'm clean. I want to make sure that I have like a medical kit. Like all these things. Because I don't want to end up like these guys on this trip. But yeah, but overall, I really like that the rape scene. Like it did, like when it was like happening, I was like, oh, this is the thing, right? The thing, the thing that I've heard about is happening, and it did. Yeah, it comes really quick. It's just kind of weird, but I didn't do any research on this either, but I wanted to know like why. Was there any reason like why that scene was in there? Is it something about like hillbilly hillbilly culture, right? Essentially, like is there some kind of like thread in there of just like the view of like kind of like mountain people, right? Just all the things you kind of hear about Appalachia, right? Not like stories you hear of like all this like inbreeding and stuff going on. I think there was like some documentaries that may have fed into this, like, from the past as well. I don't know if they were before or after when this movie would have been done, but I don't want to go on a rant, but I really enjoyed it. I kind of like how it ended, even like coming down to like people getting murdered and then like trying to come up with a cover up story. But like, why are you coming up with a cover up story? Like, these guys tried to kill you, right? You try to protect yourself. Like, and I get what they're saying. It's like, oh, these are their people though. Like, they're not going to let you out of here for killing them for whatever reason. But yeah, you're going to say something, Jamie?
Well, wasn't the sheriff even like, didn't they say at the end it was like he's like the brother-in-law of one of the missing men?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that was the big fun fact. That was the author, James Dickey. That was the little cameo that Borman gave him.
Nice.
Yeah. And but yeah, Chad, I think you're right. I think part of it is like that city boy, country boy, just fear that they're playing into, and it's the South, so there's that element thrown in too. But if you if you dabble in like the God, what's like the murder podcast stuff, these stories do pop up of just these rogue mountain men who have captured people. I think I was listening to, there was an ESPN story. There was this woman who was an Olympic skier, and this happened to her. She was on like a morning run. She got abducted by a father and a son and assaulted. And it was just like this harrowing tale of how she got out of that situation. So while like it's fiction, but this shit does happen, which is also really scary. So, and it's not what you think, right? Like when you go into the wilderness, like you're more likely to fall out of the canoe and break your femur than you are to get abducted by, two mountain men. But
right. It also made me think, it's like in that moment, like you need to maybe try to make your escape at the very beginning. Right? Tempt your fate with like a gun in your face before it's like in your back kind of thing. But hopefully those are decisions I'll never have to make in my life. But
well, I think that like it's I was trying to think of after this movie viewing, like, is it movies like this that made us think of a certain way of the South? Like, am I like, oh, this is Hollywood's version of what the South's like? Because like I'm watching Justified right now, and it like some of the things that are going on, and like there's just Confederate flags everywhere and all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh god, this makes me not want to go to the South. Like I feel kind of dirty like thinking about it, but like also like this is just Hollywood's version. I'm sure there's very nice places down south, but but I think it's funny, like one of the facts was like to save costs and to add realism, they used local residents were casted in the roles of hill people, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm guessing that wasn't their clothes. Like I'm guessing they had a little makeup done. So I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I just remember like one time when I had road trip down there, like I was trying to think of some of the situations we got in. No, it wasn't aggressive like that, but also it was just very. It felt very like hillbilly-esque, if you will. But I guess, Chad, you mentioned earlier, if I go to southern Minnesota, I run into what I would consider some hillbilly-esque situations too. So it's not like it's just the deep South. But they did say after this movie, so fortunately enough, tourism increased by like the tens of thousands, they said, to go down this river and like rafting and stuff like that. So nobody was deterred by the rape scenes or like the killings and stuff. If anything, people were more intrigued, like, I gotta see this. But I'm sure it's like people from LA, and they're like, it's kind of like My Cousin Vinny style. Like they've got these shiny boots on, and they're bringing their shiny guns, and they're like, I'm ready. Well, let's go camping.
Right. Well, I have to say, like when we went on a road trip 2 years ago, excuse me, we drove to North Carolina. Well, we went through like West Virginia and Virginia, and like the parts we drove through, like West Virginia, right? It was like, man, that was some like amazing, beautiful country. It was very rural, but we were trying to save money, so I wasn't like taking like routes that had tolls, which was kind of dumb because you're going through the mountains anyway, and you're already like driving like way more than you need to because you're just like in and out of mountains and just looping back and forth. So we went through some like pretty small towns in rural West Virginia, and it was like what you would think. And at that time too, it was like what, just coming out of like 2020 pandemic. I mean, there was like so many like Trump signs everywhere. um Angela saw, like, I was too focused on the road, but Angela saw, she's like, oh my god, in that backyard I just saw a bunch of look like teenagers in the back of a pickup truck, and they all look like they had like AK-47s. That was like that kind of stuff. And like we stopped and got gas at one place, and like the gas station was next to like an old abandoned gas station, which had like an old abandoned like Greyhound bus in front of it, and it was just plastered with like Trump paraphernalia, you know, like all the flags and like the Rambo Trump and whatever. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is like,
Trump. Forgot about that guy.
I mean, I get where some of those stereotypes may come from, but we did stop at a park in this like very small, it's like an old abandoned mining town. I'm just guessing from the old abandoned like mining buildings that were all rusted. um, but we just stopped at this little place, and like the kids needed to get out and run around, you know, like just been in a van all day. And we stopped at this little park, and there was like another like young couple there with like their kids, and it was just like, I don't know. It's like real folk. We just sat there and like chit chatted a little bit. And it was time to go. We all made our, you know, goodbyes and said our goodbyes and left. And it was, I don't know, normal, like you would anywhere else probably in the country. So what I'm trying to say is, the long of the short of it, you could probably get kidnapped anywhere that is rural. And if you're alone and there's a father and son wants to take you home. Back to you, James.
But
Dun-dun-dun.
Similar to your story, I'd say, Chad, I know that my brother, sister, and I were road tripping. We I can't remember if we flew into Pennsylvania or if we flew into like West Virginia and then drove to Pennsylvania. But we picked up like my cousin on the way, and I remember we stopped off at this bar on like our trip. And we did, and it was like a couple hours, so we stopped at various different places on our way to meet my parents and aunt and uncle. And I just remember when we got into this one place, and my sister always tells the story about how like I saw a pool table. I'm like, oh sweet, there's a pool table, and I just audibly said it like I did, and all of a sudden like everybody at the bar, like it felt like it got quiet like in a movie, and everybody just looked at me, and like this lady just goes, hey, like Benjamin, like there's a guy here that likes pool, and then they go, they look at me again, and they're like, hey, like he's been really waiting to play somebody in pool for a long time now. And then this guy Benjamin like left to go to his car to get his pool cue, and then like played me. Like, and it was just like super. It was just really, really odd. And I'm like, oh my god, like where are we? And like, also this bar like wasn't empty. Like, man, nobody would play with this guy. I'm like, what's happening right now? And it wasn't like he was a shark or anything like that. I don't know. I had a great time playing him, but it felt like very like backwoods in the situation that I was in, because while we were in very rural, I'm going to say Pennsylvania at the time. So I don't know.
So James, if this was a part of a movie and you were to score this part of the movie starring you, what would part of the soundtrack be? Would it be? I
mean, that's how it felt. Like, honestly, and, that's the only way I could describe it, I guess. Like, it definitely felt like a little bit fish out of water situation. Like, where at the time, like, and I mean, I don't know, like when you say like Trump era stuff, or there's Trump signs everywhere and everything, like, I don't know, like that makes me nervous a lot of the times now. And maybe that's just the world we're in. Maybe that's just how I am now. And like when we did this, I think I was in my mid to late 20s, where again, at that point, you always feel invincible and nothing is going to hurt you. But like, so yeah. I didn't feel unsafe. If anything, my sister and I we were laughing, making comments. Like, we were probably vocal about how like banjo like scoring situation this was in, and they were probably all, and not probably, I think they were all on board with this idea. Like, it was fun for us, it was fun for them, there was a lot of laughter going on, but we just couldn't believe we were in this scenario. But now I feel like I would be maybe a little bit quieter about how I came up to the bar, or I don't know. Like
Right.
I feel like I'm a little bit more nervous or cautious these days, opposed to how I was then. And yeah.
Who do you think you are? Some big talking city folk coming around here? Yeah, I know, but with that, the Trump signs and stuff like that. One thing I do have to say, the last 2 years going on a road trip, so like especially driving through like Indiana, Ohio, and like those states where I think the first time we drove through there, we saw a lot of that stuff. The last couple of years, I think I counted one on the entire drive there to Cape Cod and back this year. And that one sign was in Wisconsin.
Well, and I was gonna say that's funny because like just driving 3 hours to southern Minnesota to my buddy's cabin, I don't know how many Trump signs that were on, like whatever 16, 18 wheeler trucks, or like they were like huge signs on the front of buildings and yards. It was like nuts. But again, when you hit some of those small towns like that, those signs have probably, well, I'd say they'd still be there, except for since the other election, except for a lot of these did say 2024. They're like, we're gonna win this time.
Right. Revenge
I'm
tour.
Like, yeah, the revenge tour. And I'm just like, oh my God. And yeah, it just makes me like, hey, not even a nice place to visit. Don't really want to live there. I just want to get through.
All right. So, since this is a movie review, why don't we give some like final thoughts, as in like like your personal review overall of the film, and like what your level of recommending this film to somebody else would be. Let's start off with you, Jamie, this time.
Okay, I would say that this is, by all accounts, a classic. It might even be in the Library of Congress. I'm not sure. I thought I saw that Jimmy Carter. Okay, I think Jimmy Carter was behind that. And
Jimmy
or no, he was
Carter?
part of the. He was part. Oh, he might be part of the reason that everything is filming in Georgia now. Wow, this is cool. Following the film's release, Governor Jimmy Carter established a state film commission to encourage television and movie production in Georgia. Wow, I didn't know that. Everything is filmed in Georgia now. Anyway, but I will say this is essential viewing. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. So, viewer beware. But there's a lot to say about exploration. There's a lot to say about masculinity. There's a lot going on in this movie, and apart from that, it's a great thriller. It's super tense. It's super watchable. We said this with Jaws. For a movie from the 70s, you're never going to be bored. So I would say absolutely recommend. And yeah, this is up there with some of my favorites. I love this movie.
Yeah, this is a recommend with like an asterisk, right?
Yeah.
I recommend this movie, but right, you gotta like, you gotta know your audience with this one. When you're sharing this or recommending this. So
totally.
Great points, Jamie. James, final thoughts.
Yeah, I really like this movie. It's weird that after the more we discuss it, I see it. But like when I first watched it, I was trying to look at some of the awards that it was potentially up for, and it was up for Best Picture. But I thought that was surprising for the time. But I guess that's just this is the type of movie that Best Pictures look for, I guess, even now. I did think it was funny that Burt Reynolds thought that he didn't get the Best Actor nomination for this movie because he was in a Cosmopolitan centerfold. Nude centerfold or whatever, and I think the one I'm talking about. It's kind of like the George Costanza-esque one where he's like on a bear rug or whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, kind of risque. But I was gonna say, I mean, I think this took him out of, if I remember reading, like he was more of a B movie actor at the time, and this is what put him into the spotlight. So good for him for making the decision to be a part of this film.
Do you know what without this, James? Sorry, Chad, I cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
What's that, Jamie?
It lost to The Godfather. That just felt important to say. 72. So
that would make.
I haven't seen that
science
one.
Right there.
I don't know. I can't. I
have also. I own them all. I've never seen them.
Yeah, you're keeping them for like what do you call it?
They're still too built up, man. I heard I won't be disappointed, but I was I don't know.
James, when he's like in his 60s, he's like, I'm finally gonna watch these Godfather movies.
I was gonna say, I don't know. There was never a good time, guys. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, by then
your
they'll
one
almost be
regret?
100 years old.
What's your one regret, James?
My one regret is I wanted to take care of my family. Yeah, I kind of have the same feelings and thoughts overall for this film. Final thoughts. Yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's almost, yeah, again, kind of knowing your audience. I think there's so much like in pop culture still to this day that references this film. That I think you just got to watch it if you are someone that would be prepared to watch a film with this, just because of some of the scenes. But yeah, I do believe it is a classic. That is for sure. There are some my little nitpicks about it that are just whatever things that come with the movie of its times, but it's not something that I'm not going to like hold against and say that it's a bad movie. So I actually really enjoyed the film. Had lots of great tense moments in it. Lots of fear driving moments. Kind of, I often thought too, I was going to ask this question. I almost forgot to, like, what would this movie look like if it was like redone today? What would like a 21st century version of this film, what it look like? Would it be like these four guys again? You know, it would probably be like two guys, two women. You know, one would be like white, one would be like African American from like, you know, then one would be like I don't know. There'd be like the wide array of everybody that you need to make a proper like diversity and inclusion film. But then it was like they didn't know anything about camping or traveling, and everything that all their knowledge is just gathered from like YouTube, like influencers. Or it would be focused on like YouTube influencers trying to record like the ultimate YouTube video about them going on this journey, and then most of it gets captured live about them getting kidnapped or whatever. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I was gonna say, like, the way when you start talking about it, it made me think. I'm like, I feel like they've done something similar to this, but I just can't remember it all. But there's a movie called Black Rock. It's got the wife from The League. I can't remember her name, Lake Bell, and then Kate Bosworth. But essentially, three childhood friends set aside their personal issues to reunite for a girls' weekend on a remote island off the coast of Maine. One wrong move turns their weekend getaway into a deadly fight for survival.
Ooh.
Oh, I got one. This is The Descent. This is The Descent from, what was that, 2005-ish?
Oh, is this with Liam Neeson?
No. This is the four women who go into the cave.
Oh,
I've heard such good things, but I've never seen it. But I hear it's amazing.
Okay, guys, that's one. Put it on the calendar for Halloween for our October season. The Descent.
Okay,
that's good.
The Descent. I just saw that Burt Reynolds picture. All right. This concludes our episode of Movie Time Machine, where we covered the film Deliverance and talked about Star Wars again. If you liked this episode, if you enjoyed yourself listening to this episode, if you have any feedbacks or comments about this episode, about the movie Deliverance, etc., go to the link in the podcast description and go there. Share your thoughts and feelings. Until next time, catch you on the pod. Bye.
See ya.
Squeal, boy. Now squeal.